In the summer of 1914, most people in Europe thought that if a war broke out, it would be over fast. A few big battles, then everyone home in a few weeks. That's really what military leaders on many sides believed at the time. Instead, the war lasted more than 4 years and pulled in countries from 6 continents. It all started with one killing. On June 28, 1914, a man named Archduke Franz Ferdinand was shot and killed in a city called Sarajevo. He was next in line to rule Austria Hungary, a large empire in Europe. The man who killed him was a Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip, someone who wanted Serbia to be free of outside control. On its own, this would have stayed a small local problem. It turned into a world war because of something called the alliance system. Here's what that means. Many countries in Europe had made promises to defend each other if one of them got attacked. So, Austria Hungary blamed Serbia for the killing and declared war on them. Russia had promised to protect Serbia, so Russia got ready for war too. Germany had promised to help Austria Hungary, so Germany declared war on Russia and then on France, since France had promised to help Russia. Germany then marched into Belgium to reach France faster, and that pulled in Britain, because Britain had promised to protect Belgium. In about 5 weeks, one killing had dragged most of Europe's major powers into war with each other. It's worth knowing what was sitting underneath all of this, too. For years before the war, European countries had been building up their armies, competing for colonies around the world, and feeling a rising sense of pride and rivalry between nations. The killing of Sarajevo didn't create any of the tension, it just lit the match. Most people remember this war from one thing above all else: the trenches. A trench is basically a long, deep ditch dug into the ground, and soldiers lived in this for protection. Once the early fighting stopped moving forward, both sides dug a line of trenches that stretched about 475 miles, all the way from the coast of Belgium down to the border of Switzerland. Soldiers lived in these ditches for months, sometimes years, and huge battles were fought without either side gaining much ground at all. One battle, called Verdun in 1916, lasted almost 10 months. Around 700,000 people were killed or wounded on both sides combined. And by the end, the front line had barely moved. Another battle, called the Somme, happened that same year. The British Army alone lost close to 60,000 men killed or wounded on the very first day. These weren't rare disasters. This was closer to the normal pattern of the whole war. New weapons made this kind of standoff more deadly than any war before it. Machine guns could mow down soldiers the moment they tried to run across open ground. Poison gas got used by several countries starting in 1915. Tanks showed up for the first time too, slow and unreliable at first, but they were a first look at how wars would be fought from then on. This wasn't just a European war either. Soldiers from India, Australia, Canada, and parts of Africa fought because their countries were controlled by Britain or France at the time. The Ottoman Empire, based around modern day Turkey, joined the war on Germany's side, opening up fighting in the Middle East too. This really was a global war, even though the trenches in France get most of the attention today. The United States stayed out of the fighting for the first 3 years. It stayed officially neutral, though it was selling supplies to Britain and France the whole time. That changed in 1917 after German submarines started sinking ships, including some American ones, and after a secret telegram was discovered showing Germany had offered to help Mexico if Mexico attacked the United States. American troops started arriving in large numbers in 1918, bringing fresh energy to an Allied side that had been fighting for years without much of a break. Germany's side began falling apart through 1918. Sailors in the German Navy mutinied, refusing to keep fighting. Years of a naval blockade had caused food shortages back home, and Germany was simply running out of soldiers to send to the front. All of this hit at once. On November 11th, 1918, an agreement called an armistice was signed and the fighting stopped. The peace that came after didn't work out as well as people hoped. In 1919, a peace deal called the Treaty of Versailles placed heavy money payments and land losses on Germany as punishment. Historians still argue about exactly how much this contributed to what came later, but most agree that it was one of several things that helped create the anger and instability that eventually led to World War II, barely 20 years afterward. By the time it was over, World War I had killed an estimated 8.5 million soldiers, plus millions more ordinary people who died from violence, disease, and hunger connected to the war. Four empires collapsed because of it: Austria Hungary, the Ottoman Empire, the Russian Empire, and Germany's royal family lost power completely. Maps across Europe and the Middle East got redrawn in ways that still shape conflicts happening in the world today.